This is a film about an exciting 2-week Arctic rafting adventure down the remote Firth River to the ice-covered Arctic Ocean. In part 3, we complete our raft trip to the icy Arctic Ocean. Along the way, we see grizzlies, caribou, red foxes, and drag our rafts across the Firth Lagoon. Today's rafting took us to the Inuvik camp and the end of the canyon reach of the Firth and the start of the Yukon coastal plain. Overhead, we saw gyre and peregrine falcons and golden eagles flying over the canyon.
How's most of your team going? Very good. Nothing much is happening. In its talons, huh?
Finally, we exited the canyon reach of the Firth and soon arrived at the Inuvik camp on the edge of the Yukon coastal plain. Without a breath of wind, the river pools provided a perfect mirror for the mountains. A large grizzly footprint at camp showed that the bears frequented the campsite, and in fact we soon saw a grizzly working its way along the river bank and nearing the camp. The grizzly hadn't noticed us, and when it did, it fled and rapidly crossed the frigid Firth River, despite its strong current. Seeing a large grizzly running rapidly towards it, a large moose broke cover and headed towards greener pastures. It's not clear what had happened, but unfortunately the moose was limping by its hindquarters. We were lucky that during our trip down the Firth River, we had some excellent opportunities to see the impressive grizzly close up. From the Inuvik campsite, it was but a short hike to the prominent rock pillar called Inuvik, meaning New Mountain in Inuvik tongue. In the early morning hours, I saw the mother red fox leave the den on her daily hunting trip. The red fox's diet consists of small game such as siksik, mice, voles, grouse, and ptarmigan. Red foxes are normally solitary, territorial animals, but they pair up during the mating season, with the kits being weaned by the autumn and on their own for the winter. During her hunt, the mother checked the siksik burrows to determine if a siksik was at home or if the burrow was inactive. For normal, the den was situated on the south-facing slope of a hill with an excellent field of view. Most red foxes that are taken by natural predators are kits. Their predators include wolves and coyotes. Hence, with the mother off on the hunt, the kits would have been instructed to stay still to avoid drawing attention to themselves. One of the three kits was not following his mother's instructions as he ventured away from the safety of the den. Traditionally, the fur of the red fox was used for robes and lining clothing. Being able to observe the activity around the red fox den was a special treat. On the summit, one has an exceptional view out over the surrounding Yukon coastal plain, so it's no wonder that archaeology has shown that the site has been used by hunters for some 8,000 years to scan the plain for caribou and other large animals. Using my vestigial ancient hunter skill, in the distance I could see a pair of large grizzlies sauntering across the plain on their never-ending search for food. It was very surprising to see a trio of caribou casually pass by the grizzlies. The reality was that the caribou could clearly see the grizzlies, so they couldn't be ambushed. As well, on the plain, the caribou could easily outrun the grizzlies. From Inuvik, it was but a short float down to the willow campsite on the Yukon coastal plain.
Right when you cross the river, the Firth River.
Due to the permafrost barrier, surface water was pouring off the plain's surface and into the river, causing erosion of the riverbank. Given the featureless nature of the Yukon coastal plain, it was a challenge to locate willow campsite amongst the scrubby willows. Once our tents were up, we made a long hike out to the surrounding waterlogged tundra plain in the hope of seeing muskox. There was an unusual scene in a pool caused by the interaction of ice, light, and ripples. Except for beautiful Arctic flowers, we saw nothing, and I overtopped my rubber boot when crossing a frigid stream. The early morning sun over Herschel Island was pretty. This would be our final day of rafting as we traversed the Firth River Delta to the Inuvik Spit, where our trip would end. Donning hip waders was a clear message that we'd be in the water and not the raft.
You want me to bounce or something? make it be really solid fit. So that's a nice
The last challenge in our rafting trip down the Firth was getting through its delta to Nunaluk Spit due to the extensive off-ice and the low water level in the delta's lagoon. The off-ice was surprisingly extensive, so it was important to recce a route to avoid a route that would either trap the rafts between the walls of ice or result in the rafts being pulled under the off-ice by the current of the river.
Yeah, we do see that. Did you see it? Take a picture.
Go, Alan, go!
Once through the off-ice, we entered the wide lagoon with very low water levels that forced us to drag the rafts to Nunaluk Spit. We camped on the spit between the fresh water of the Firth Delta Lagoon and the ice-covered Arctic Ocean and enjoyed watching the bird life while waiting for our flight back to Inuvik. The emergency shelter had an interesting guest register recording previous visits, as well as a few bones from the whaling era. The enormous trumpeter swan is the largest extant species of waterfowl. The spit is alive with various species of Arctic fowl. However, they are very skittish and would fly off if they detected the slightest movement. As a culmination of our trip, we made a plunge in the icy water of the Arctic Ocean. As I didn't pack to go for a dip, I had to make do without swimming trunk. While the water was refreshing, I was happy to exit and warm up near the very hot driftwood fire. The Nunalak Spit is the only place that campfires are allowed in the park, and the many logs of the Mackenzie River Valley that are washed up here make quite a bonfire, as the driftwood is very dry. Prosecco and cookies were a nice treat after the plunge. Looking towards Herschel Island, we could frequently see a Fata Morgana mirage that consisted of a stack of compressed and stretched zones that distorted the island's appearance. The spit was formed of smooth shingle rock which cannot be compacted. Hence, tundra tires were essential to land on the rough, uncompacted airstrip and avoid getting stuck. With the arrival of the Twin Otter, our trip was truly over, as we'd soon be back in civilization. Due to the loose shingle, the pilot had to pour on the coal to get the plane moving around. The actual rotational speed of the propellers cannot be gauged when watching videos of a propeller-driven aircraft, since the camera's shutter speed appears to either freeze or slow down the motion of the propeller blades. Hence, when the aircraft is in flight, a slowly moving propeller blade looks very wrong, as does the bent shape of the propeller blades due to the camera's significant rolling shutter. Three Twin Otter flights were required to carry out the 4 rafts, camping equipment, and people. Again, it was a 1-hour flight from Inuvik Spit to Inuvik, but this time we flew over the Arctic Ocean before traversing the Mackenzie River Delta. After turning east, we flew over the Firth Lagoon where we had dragged our rafts across. We could see the Inuvik Spit with its airstrip on the shingle beach. Herschel Island, just north of the Spit, was the base of some 1,500 people in the 1890s who were involved in the whaling industry, which hunted the bowhead whale until that population was exhausted. It was fascinating to see the variations of the sea ice which still covered the Beaufort Sea. Once again, we flew over the watery maze of the Mackenzie River Delta, past Inuvik to the landing at the Inuvik Airport and the end of our excellent adventure in the Canadian Arctic. Making a trip down the Firth River is to experience wilderness in its purest form, just as our ancestors did millennia ago.
Take me somewhere nice, to some tired island in your heart called paradise.
If you enjoyed this film, please subscribe and like. There are many more similar films available on my channel.